a person who owns. Number one, if you have extra wealth than you need, then this could be a way to interpret that that's what other people have right to. Or we can restrict it to people only taking what they need if they have a need. So so either a person takes what is allowed to take what is extra from someone's wealth, or they can only take based on a need that they have. He said, why would someone have copyright laws? Number one, so that everyone can get their due right and recognition. This protects a person's right to their invention and right to their property. Similarly, there may be financial benefit from my ownership. If I wrote a book, then I may benefit from it financially. So what would allow you to take that right from me? So what about a student knowledge? Can he come take from it then? So we will say that if the knowledge that you have you don't need to make money and you live off it, then you should let others take it and benefit from it. Too close? Okay. Also, a student may also really be in need of this knowledge, but he can't get to it in any other way. So we should allow for him to access that. But they should ask for permission before taking that knowledge or that, intellectual property. If he's not able to seek permission, some people we can't reach. Here, if he cannot buy that book and he can't access that person, then maybe he will be excused for taking that knowledge. But if we open the door all the way, then people will transgress against the rights of others. So only we should allow it in cases where we cannot ask permission and we are in need. As for, again, intellectual property rights, include both the intellectual right and also the financial right. So ascribing the work to the author and allowing them to benefit from it financially. However, there are some scholars who did not allow this. They did not allow taking from the intellectual property at all. As some scholars said that you are not allowed to even make money in the first place. So he says, sorry, what I meant is, that's what he's saying. What I meant is, the first point I want to mention is that some scholars did not allow for anyone to even financially profit off intellectual property in the first place. They said writing knowledge is an act of worship and we're allowed to take money on worship. So they said you cannot take compensation for a worship. And some scholars said on top of that, if you won't give the knowledge to only people, you only give the knowledge to people who will pay for it, then this goes against the prohibition of the Prophet ﷺ from concealing knowledge to people, from people. So some ulama, they didn't allow this because they say this goes against the purpose of the Sharia, which is to spread knowledge and conceals it from others. If we only allow those who can afford it to access it.
كتاب الله سبحانه وتعالى. فإذا أباح النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أخذ الأجر في ذلك فإنه يبيح أخذ الأجر فيما دون ذلك. ثم استدلوا بحديث سهل بن سعد.
And he's mentioning some of the evidences that those who say that you can use knowledge to make a profit. From them is that the Prophet ﷺ allowed for some of the Sahaba to teach others the Quran as a dowry. So this is a form of financial, using the Quran as a financial transaction. And so some said that you can write and use knowledge to make money or use it in a transaction or benefit from it. And so here he's presenting the arguments of those sides, those who will say it's allowed for you to benefit financially from knowledge and some who cannot. Also, he says those who say it's not allowed, besides saying that it's an act of worship, they say it's harmful to allow everyone to access everyone's rights and property and take it without, and that harms people because they can't benefit from it and it can be taken from them and other people can ascribe themselves to it. And so we have to repel harm and give that precedence over gaining benefit. Similarly, preserving intellectual rights encourages people to write. If people know that if this book will be ascribed to me and my name will be on it, then this encourages people to write and author and produce. If I will just write and someone else can take my book and put their name on it, then what's the point of me writing? In any case, he believes if a person who writes a book, he has the financial rights to that text, and no one can transgress against his rights. And we should not open the door to harm people and transgress people's rights. And the name of the author should be on the book and no one can remove it. So they should get the benefit in this world and the next. The next point we want to talk about is what is it allowed for women to enter into recorded videos in educational material. He said in the 10th conference I wrote a paper regarding women and Dawah in the Western society. And he looked at the role of women in Dawah in the West in terms of her exposing herself and so on and being involved with others. What should a woman do? What can a man do? And so on. And comparing this to how the Dawah was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is similar to what we're talking about today. Is it allowed for a woman to be in a mixed conference and gathering and to speak in front of them? We decided that on one side, women and men are not the same in terms of speaking and presenting yourself for others completely. They're not completely the same. At the same time, like we shouldn't say that women should expose themselves like on one extreme we shouldn't say women should be like men and always presenting themselves in front of men and so on. At the other side, they will say a woman should only be under the shadow of a man. That's another extreme that he says. And we shouldn't use the verse where men are the caretakers or those in charge of women. We should not use that verse as a proof that women should always be in the shadow of a man or under the caretaker of a man. And so that she should only be in the house and so on. So he believes those are two extremes looking at the matter.
الآية الكريمة. فلم يذكر من صفات الخيرات أنهن داعيات، هذا واحد يعبر عنه أصحابه، فلم يذكر من صفاتها هؤلاء الخيرات أنهن داعيات أو مجاهدات أو محتسبات، ولو كان خروجها للدعوة خيرا لسبقت إليه فاطمة وعائشة وخير نساء العالمين. وخلاصة القول عندهم يقولون بذلك أن المرأة بقدر ما تعبد في بيتها ولا تعامل الخلق فإنها في أمن لنفسها وللمجتمع. فكيف نجيب على هذا؟ لدينا الآن رأيين، رأي يفتح لها المجال تفعل ما تشاء، ورأي يقيم.
So he's saying that it shouldn't be that a woman should be where a man completely controls a woman. That's again, he's still talking about that other extreme. And so we can find a middle balance between the two extremes. In terms of conceptualizing the issue, we can say that definitely, we cannot say that a man is like a woman in terms of emotion and body and everything, and being exposed to everyone.
ربما يناسبه ما ذكر من أن الله تعالى خلق المرأة كائنا مستقلا له حقوقه الذاتية.
We say that a man has certain rights and a woman has certain rights, as a man has certain roles and a woman has certain roles. So as a female, she has certain characteristics that are specific to her. Certain things are suitable for her and certain things are not suitable for her. She can still play a role, of course, and she can give her advice, and advice can be sought from her without exceeding the boundary of her fitrah and her natural disposition. As for the other opinion, who say that a woman is a awra and a fitna, and she should only be the shadow of a woman under the caretaker of a man and shadow of another man, and she should only be at home. He responds to this also. So he says that the scholars don't say that a woman is completely awra, is not suitable for dawah. And so, as for her being a fitna, meaning that men like to look at women. However, if she's speaking, I believe that I have personal experience. One of my close friends, he had a Christian wife. I used to look down when I was speaking to her. One day he told me, "My wife is mad at you." So he said, "Why?" He said, "Because when you speak to her, you don't look at her face." He said, "This is our religion." He said, he doesn't look at it this way. He says, looking at her face gives her recognition. So we should take this into consideration in dawah. So he told me, he said, you can still obey your religion and make her happy. So look at her sometimes, and look down sometimes, to try to combine between the two. So he's saying we should treat them like intellectual beings. And this.
When you get too close, you're messing up. I'm recording it for the video.
Okay.
So it has to be.
Okay. All right. So I talked to the woman at the cashier, talked to the woman in the supermarket, I talked to women all over. Then my Muslim sister, who's a colleague of mine at school, I don't talk to her, I treat her different. No, I should treat her with the same respect and dignity. And you'll see in the book, the pages, what I gathered on what I wrote about women who participated in dawah and teaching hadith and so on, whom were very famous in knowledge.
لعلي نعم هذه كلها نماذج. بسم الله. هل يجوز أن تشارك المرأة في في مقابلة تلفزيونية
Is a
بشرية
woman allowed to go on a
القياس،
TV or satellite channel program?
وهي ممن لا يرون وجوب ستر الوجه أو
And she,
الإبراز
even though
عن
she,
زينة
and she
الوجه
takes the opinion that
مخجلة
it's allowed to
بصورة
expose
مفتوحة
her
على
face,
الرجال والنساء،
and men will watch the
مع
show.
استعراض عدد من الفتاوى التي نشرها
By
الشيخ
looking at the
معالي
different
الشيخ محمد
fatwas on this issue
البسيوني
on the
وأضيف
internet,
أن ثمة شبه اعتراض أو رؤية بعدم جواز ظهور المرأة على شاشات الإعلام. فالخلاصة عندنا أنه
he
ممنوع
says,
من خلال هذا
in
ممنوع.
general, it should not be done. Why?
اعتمدت الفتاوى في
These
جملتها على
fatwas
ما يلي:
said, number
ليس
one,
الذكر كالأنثى،
a woman is not like a
المرأة
man,
تختلف عن الرجل في
and a
الصورة
woman is
والأعضاء
different in
الخارجية
terms of her
والصفات العامة
body and her
التي يطلق
characteristics
عليها
than a
الحيض
man.
ونحو ذلك. فهذا
That
يقتضي
her body and
أن
her
تحكم المرأة
everything is a
بزوجها
form
بذلك
of pleasure to be
وبمعنى
looked at for
نظرة
men.
جسدية. رجعنا للرأي الأول لو تفتكروا. ثانيا، إن أهم ما تقوم به المرأة وتعتني به هو بيتها، فوظيفة
Number two, the most important thing for a woman is her
وظائف
home,
أهمها
and
من
so she
أداء
not let these
الوظيفة
things get in the way of her
ولا
duties
يجب
at home.
التساهل في هذا أبدا والتقليل من شأن. ثلاثة،
Number three,
المرأة ستسعى جهدها في تحسين صوتها وصورتها
a woman will try to
للمشاهدين
make herself look good and make her voice nice on channel for men to look, and this is a problem.
رابعا من الأدلة، قد يحصل أن تحدث خلوة مع رجال أجانب
And this may lead her to be alone with men while she's recording it and in the studio and so on.
ما قال. خامسا، كثير
Number
من
five,
الإعلاميين لا يتخذون المرأة في هذا الجانب إلا لجذب
many
أنظار
people in the
من
media, they
الناس.
only bring women for non-honorable purposes, just so that people can look at, so that and get views.
والجواب على ذلك
The response to these
ليس
points,
الذكر كالأنثى، يعني ما دلالة هذا المصطلح؟
when he's saying that men is not like, when you say men are not like women, what does that mean legally?
أما هي المهام التي تناط بالمرأة لا تستطيع
Is this something mean that she cannot give lectures?
جملة ذلك؟
Can she not go on the media?
أخطر أنها تبدو أمام الناس فتنة وأنها سوف تتزين وهكذا. هل هذا يسحب حكما عاما على كل النساء؟
And to say that she's going to come out looking with makeup and so on, he said that's not always the case. That doesn't necessarily, you can't have a blanket ruling on all cases, just because some women may do that.
البريئة كالنظرة الخبيثة حين
And similarly, if men look at her without desire,
أو أقول أمي
is this, do we make this the same as looking at her with desire? Not everyone's going to look at her that way.
النظر والتأمل
So he's trying to respond to the points that of the fatwas that said that she shouldn't go on TV channels and so on.
تماما عن هذا الميدان الذي
And
نحن فيه. وسبحان الخلاق العليم، كثيرا ما أعلق لبعض الأخوة عندما يأتون إلى المسجد فيقولون
many people, when they come to the masjid,
نخاف على الأخوات
they say we fear for the sisters when they come to the masjid.
جوه المسجد ده ما كفهوش كل الستات العريان اللي في الشارع.
So I say to him,
أنا هيبص عليك
you don't think that all the women on the street are enough for that person to look at, and you think he's going to come look at the women in the masjid?
أن المرأة إذا كانت متقية لرب العالمين سبحانه وتعالى
In the end, if a woman has piety of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then she will not make her voice flirtatious or attractive while she's speaking and so on. And as for the notion that you think that a woman is not going to add anything different than a man, so we can have a man speak on the news instead, we'll say no. There are groups of people that only women can reach and can affect better than men. As for being alone with men during studio recordings, whoever knows that in the studios are always filled with many people, the cameraman and lighting person and so on, so you won't be alone. There may be 50 people around you in a recording studio. Especially if we're recording many different especially if we're recording many different shows in one time. That means they're going to have a lot of people working on the set. So he says we'll leave the rest of the time to Dr. Basyouni. And I end by saying, anything that is correct, this is from Allah, from what I said. Anything mistake or anything I forgot is from Shaitan.
صلى رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه بعد. عندي مسألتان
I'm going to speak two issues today.
عليكم في هذا الصباح، وهي مسألة
Number
تصوير
one,
النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم والصحابة
drawing the Prophet and the companions
والصحابة رضي الله عنهم
and the prophets in general,
في أفلام
whether it's in uh, acting like them in videos or documentaries,
تمثيل أو على طريق الأنيميشن
or in terms of animation
الأفلام أو الرسوم الكرتونية
or cartoons
للأطفال.
for children.
ثم بعد ذلك سنعود
And then we'll talk about the second point.
حكم مشاهدة مثل هذه
Is it allowed to watch these type of shows?
الموقف الشرعي من حكمها.
Regarding, regardless of the issue of the ruling on making them, this issue, when you talk about a few issues.
ثلاث مسائل. المسألة الأولى
Number one,
هي حكم التصوير.
the ruling on photography, drawings, etc.
يكون فيها جزء كبير منه
All these cartoons and animations are based on actually drawing with his hand,
ثم بعد ذلك يقوم
and then the computer, brings it to animation
بالشكل النهائي
until it, comes out in the final form, as you know.
أو تكون على شكل أفلام تمثل. يكون
Or we can have actors acting like the Prophet or the Sahaba or the other prophets.
من الأنبياء أو كان في حق الصحابة رضي الله عنهم يكون كمثلا المسلسل
Like we know the well-known show Omar that came out, Umar ibn Khattab.
وفرقت بين الكلام عن مسألة الصحابة
And I differentiate between looking at the prophets and the companions on this issue. There's a big difference.
وإن كان عند البعض.
Some scholars don't see a difference.
فأصل هذه المسألة
The basis of this issue
تعرض لمسألة التصوير.
is the issue of photography and drawing, and I talked about this in talking about the rulings of drawing. I'm not going to mention all the details, but I do need to let you know that the student of knowledge should have be able to differentiate between issues. Fiqh for student knowledge is shown when he is able to differentiate and break up the different issues on a problem he's finding an answer for. So photography and drawing is a widespread issue today. There's almost no one who has at least using his phone as pictures. So the purpose of photography can either be can be used for worshiping other than Allah, or to try to rival Allah in creating. And this, no doubt, is haram and shirk. And this is what is meant by the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that forbid photo making. And on the Day of Judgment, the photo maker will be told, the picture maker will be told to bring what you created to life on the Day of Judgment. And this is the person who is greatest of punishment on the Day of Judgment. This person created pictures to be worshipped by other than Allah, for other than Allah. The other category, who create pictures not for this reason, not for worship or for rivaling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. And this is also of categories. The first, that which is not have souls in it, like that which is trees and oceans and natural sights. This is allowed, except with a weaker opinion. Ibn Abdul Bar mentioned from Mujahid that he used to not allow to draw trees, but this is a weak opinion. No one else took it after him. Ibn Abbas also, I mentioned him. A man came to Ibn Abbas and told him he used to draw pictures, and he told him about the hadith of the severe punishment. So he said, if you have to draw, then draw trees and hills and so on. This is one category. The other category is drawing. Well, before I move on to the next point, there's a difference in opinion. If a person drew an imaginary creature, like a dragon. This is an imaginary creature. It's not real.
فهل هذا يدخل في تحريم تصوير
Does this go into the prohibition?
هذا منصوص على التحريم كما وصل الدعوة
He says the Hanbali say it's haram.
الخيال لأنه يحرم تصويره وكثير من علماء ومشايخنا كان يفتي بتحريم تصوير الصور الخيالية وأظن هذا ورد في أيضا فتوى للجنة الدائمة بتحريم مثل هذا الأمر وأنه لا يجوز حذف الصور الخيالية والدليل
So he says that this is not allowed in the Hanbali method.
على عائشة وجود
And Aisha had pictures of a horse with wings. The Prophet rebuked her having this picture. And so they use that as proof and prohibiting that. He says, I also remember that Ibn Baz had a fatwa that he asked about drawing Mickey Mouse in cartoons. And he allowed it. He said, they don't go enter into the prohibition, whether it's in terms of making it or hanging it, because he said does not have a real soul. It's not real. And this is what I choose. The second category, that which has souls. And the scholars mention a human and an animal. And we can also enter into this angels and jinn. And this enters prohibition as well. And I mention this because we have some videos that mention, jinn and angel, that show jinn and angels. So this would enter into the ruling as well. So, is it allowed to draw that which has souls without trying to have people worship it or rival Allah's creation? This also has two categories. The first category, that which is full body, it has a face and eyes and everything. The second category is that which has no face or is deficient in body parts that he could not live without. Like if it's just a head or something, you can't live like that. Like if just half of the body from the chest. As for the first category, many of the fuqaha said it was allowed. And they differed on the details. Some said the face must be gone, because Prophet ordered with this. He said, there should be no picture except that we remove his face. As Ibn Abbas said. This mentioned many hadiths that he mentions pictures and he means face. But many of the fuqaha, like Ibn Qudama mentions and others, and Sheikh Muhammad Ibrahim also, he said the impermissibility goes away if you remove from the picture that which you cannot live without. And then this picture would not enter into the prohibition. And I favor the position that you should remove the face. I lean towards this opinion in my paper. So now, as for that which has full body and everything, is this always haram? This also is divided into two categories. That which has a shadow and that which does not have a shadow. That which is full body has a shadow and doesn't have a shadow. And what we mean by shadow, mean like a statue. That which doesn't have a shadow, meaning like two-dimensional, like picture. So here, we see that the text differentiate between them. And we see some scholars differentiate between them. As for statues, then there's agreement that it's haram. As for that which is 2D, like that which is drawn on curtains or a wall or something, or pillows or papers. And this is what we're talking about now, anyway, in our case, of technology. This type of drawing, this is where the scholars differed upon. And what I believe, that there's no difference between the two. And I believe they both take the same ruling. Because the Prophet, he rebuked these type of pictures with Aisha. And it was on a curtain. I don't see a difference between the two in the text. I don't see a difference between drawing by the hand and drawing on a computer. And the difference occurs if, as for using photography with mirrors and cameras, majority of scholars allow it because this is just capturing the reflection of a person, not actually creating an image. Like looking in a mirror, it's like looking in a mirror. It's just preserving that image, but not creating an image. It's just preserved on the camera or on a computer or so on. So there seems to be almost an agreement amongst contemporary scholars that allow it. And so we summarize that which has a face and it's not removed, which has a soul, whether it's 3D or 2D, this is haram. But this also doesn't mean we can't never use it. So there are some exceptions that the scholars mention. From it, they allow it. You're allowed to use it for benefit, like passports and IDs and so on, or drawing a picture for a wanted criminal, etc., or to documenting a important event or important documentary type of work. Also money. The time of Sahaba, there are dinars that had images on them due to the need for them. Also, pictures that are humiliated, things that are stepped upon and thrown like on clothes and so on. There's an exception. The Prophet in the Hadith of Jibreel, when he said to cut off these pictures, so he was told that you can make it into that which is humiliated and so on. So something which is on a plate or something that's humiliated and used, this will not enter. If a picture is for toys also, this also is an exception. That which is for play, kids' entertainment and toys. This is also an exception as narrated by Abu Dawood, and it was authentic by many scholars, like in the Iraqi and others, and from the contemporary scholar Sheikh al-Albani, that the Prophet ﷺ, when he saw that Aisha had a toy that was with a horse with two pictures, he said, "What is it?" He said, "It's a horse that has two wings." Aisha said that Suleiman had a horse with wings, so the Prophet laughed. So he agreed with it. So and the Sahaba used to have dolls and kids' toys for the children to play with. And many of the scholars mention this exception, toys, from the exception of prohibition. Similarly, we can derive from this pictures that are for learning. If we allow it for entertainment, then we should also allow it for teaching, and this is more deserving. So if there are pictures that are going to be placed to teach, like teaching the life of the Prophet or the Sahaba, or medicine, or for learning the alphabet, then this is also from the exception. Also, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen was asked about a cartoon about the conqueror of Constantinople. He said he allowed it because it was for kids. If these pictures are for, or these toys are for kids, Is it only allowed for kids or is it allowed for all adults as well? Yeah, obviously, entertainment and fun is not just for kids. And Aisha, when the Prophet saw, and Aisha, when she had that toy, she was married, so she wasn't just a kid, she was married. So, some ulama, they mentioned it's only for kids, but he said it could also be seen that it's for everyone, not just for kids, as an exception.
لكن يمكن أن تراجعوا كلام الفقهاء الذين ترجم كابن مفلح وغيره ولم يظهر لي أن
What is apparent to me, that this exception, if it's for older, and cartoons even for older people, it's allowed. For teaching or for entertainment.
إذا هذا من جهة تقرير أصل المسألة. إذا أصل المسألة أن يوجد فيلم
So now we're talking about this type of films or cartoons for entertainment.
الأصل
The default for it, it's allowed,
هذه المقدمة.
based on what we mentioned.
هل يمكن
However,
هذا الوصف
this picture,
بشخص النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم
can we now use that entertainment purpose and so on type of films for the Prophet or the companions or the other prophets? First of all, we have to know that their rank is very high. It's not like other people. They have honor and respect that others don't have. And this is what Allah orders us with. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in His Quran, that with the people who believe, they're the ones who have that reverence for the Prophet ﷺ, revering the station of the Prophet ﷺ. He's not like other people. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala differentiates between him and other creation. Even when calling and speaking to him, we don't treat the Prophet the same. We're supposed to lower our voice with the Prophet. Harming the Prophet is not like harming others from humans. Loving the Prophet is not like loving others. So we need to keep this in mind if we're when talking about picture making of the Prophet. So drawing Prophet for education and cartoons and so on, we have to say that number one, if this drawing or this cartoon has to make sure that there's no deficiency or defect in the Prophet's portrayal. And also, when portraying him, it has to be accurate. You can't lie in how he looks or making it different. Everything that we portray has to be accurate. This is like lying upon the Prophet. You have lied upon how he looked or what he did, etc., if it's not accurate. Or how he spoke and so on. You have to make everything accurate, or it's lying upon him. And so this is a big hurdle to overcome to allow it. Also, similarly, we can't do this for the Prophet or other prophets as well. It's also not allowed to lie upon the other prophets. And we can't just look at the other scriptures for this, because if we know that what's in other scriptures is not true, we can't use that in our portrayals. If someone says, "I'll make it very accurate as it's come in the hadiths," make it everything about him is accurate, and make it very respectful, what would be the ruling? We say, the contemporary scholars, they are agreed that it's haram to portray the Prophet ﷺ. And they mentioned different reasons. Some said to block the means so that no one lies to the Prophet ﷺ. And so that there's no deficiency from his position. A person may portray the Prophet ﷺ, and then a person advertising for that movie, he may put the picture of another movie that's not a good movie next to the picture of the movie of the Prophet ﷺ. Also, If you put up pictures of the Prophet ﷺ, this may lead to shirk. People hanging it up, people may, exceed the bounds when dealing with it. And we see what happens with people when they put up this pictures of Hassan, Hussein, and Fatima and Ali, and the picture of the Prophet ﷺ, and they call upon them in their masjids and in their qiblas as well. And many fiqh councils, they mention these reasons. And Sheikh Ahmed Abouseif mentioned many scholars in his paper, their opinions on this matter, and the East and the West, prohibiting the Prophet ﷺ, in portraying the Prophet ﷺ. Also, some of the contemporary scholars, they did allow portraying the Prophet ﷺ from Ahl Sunnah. And this was from Sheikh Dawah. I saw this. Some people quoted him in this, that he allowed this, and portraying him and drawing him. And I heard from some other scholars who allowed it based on the Musalsal Hadith. Musalsal Hadith is a hadith that a Sahabi portrays the acts of the Prophet ﷺ, and someone after that portrays it, and someone else after that portrays it with a connected chain. So an actor now can portray how the Prophet ﷺ act with a connected chain as well. But to me, I don't believe it's a strong proof for it. This issue isn't just about portraying the Prophet ﷺ. This issue is portraying the Prophet ﷺ in a movie with all the other problems that movies have. We cannot imagine having a movie that's free from all these different problems when portraying the Prophet ﷺ. The next issue is about the companions. We see Sheikh Sawi, for example. He said that's not allowed. And it's also, again, almost everyone from the scholars also said the same thing today. But as for the Sahaba, he believes that it's less as severe than when it comes to the prophets. And the scholars differed on this issue. Some of them, first opinion, most scholars, contemporary scholars, say it's haram, without any exception. From them are the scholars of Saudi Arabia and other fiqh councils as well, and also in scholars of Jordan, and he mentioned many different fiqh councils from different countries, and it's all in the paper. They said that it's not allowed at all, and the other opinion is that it's allowed with the with the exception of you can't do the 4 khulafa and the 10 from the 10 guaranteed glad tidings of paradise, and the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is what Sheikh Ahmed Abouseif and Sheikh Sahsawi lean to, and this is what Azhar's opinion is. And he says, I don't see a strong proof for this exception. Because if he's someone from giving glad tidings of the paradise, if he's someone who is not giving glad tidings of paradise, what's the difference between both of them if they're portrayed in a way that's deficient? It would not be allowed for either, so I don't see the difference. The third opinion is that it's allowed to portray the companions, with the exception the believers, mothers of the believers. And he says that we should also add the wives of the Prophet as well, the companions as well, because this affects the honor of the companions by portraying their wives. This opinion, he said it's the best of opinions in my opinion. And this is the opinion of Sheikh Khalid al-Muslah. And Sheikh al-Sa'di, he was in the Islamic Institute, and in front of him was a play of Badr, and he didn't deny it, didn't rebuke it, and he agreed with it. And this will have companions in, no doubt, and he was there and he didn't rebuke it. And there should be precautions, of course, in doing this. Of course, it should be accurate. There should be a board making sure, academic board making sure that these things are accurate. Of course, also the portrayal has respect to the Sahaba, and there shouldn't be any historical errors. Even though, like the last videos on Omar, and there's another series on Fatima that have, of course, the Shia produced it, that have historical mistakes. Also, that the actor should not work in other productions that will be haram, so that same face will be associated with his Sahabi and something haram. However, he thinks that no one will. The Sheikh doesn't think that there's going to be a connection made by people between one role here and another role here, even if it's the same person. Like, the Sheikh doesn't think that. He thinks that they're clearly separate. They're not going, or else all movies would connect different people, different actors together for different roles, and that's not what people do. Even for Christians, they portray prophets and so on, and no one, for them, thinks that this is a form of deficiency because an actor is producing something here and producing something else. There's a movie called Jesus. Whoever saw that movie, no one's going to think that, oh, this is a deficiency because a certain actor did it. But rather, many Christians, they were increased in love of Jesus because of that movie. So he doesn't think. So the Sheikh says, I don't think that's a strong exception. Merely portraying the companion doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make it deficient. The Omar series, many people thought that, before it came out, many people thought that this was going to make Omar look bad and decrease from his honor and so on. But in fact, the opposite happened when it came out. There's no statistical evidence that showed any deficiency. Rather, the opposite is true. Many people liked it and were attached to it. And look at that series Orturol. How this series, many people liked it and made it, it made people more attached to it as opposed to make it a way to push people away. So Shah has 1 more minute left. He says, in the end, looking at these videos, Sheikh Sahsawi said, you can watch it, it's easier than making it. It's less severe than making it. So even if you believe that this is haram, watching it for a benefit is allowed. A preponderant benefit is allowed. This is what Sheikh Sahsawi said. As Sheikh Abouseif, he did not allow it. And he's mentioning the comparative different opinions where the other researcher differed with him. In any case, the Sheikh Walid said, if this video has haram in it or any sort of deficiency in it, then you can't watch it. Like there's a movie called Moses or Musa, that does have deficiency to Allah and deficiency to the prophets, and this would not be allowed to watch.
الله يقول وقد نزل عليكم في الكتاب أن إذا سمعتم آيات الله يكفر بها ويستهزأ بها فتقولوا لا يجوز القعود ونحن نقول
It's not allowed for us to watch these type of things.
هذا لا يجوز لكم الكتاب والله يقول والذين لا يشهدون الزور لا يمكن أن تشهد
You cannot bear witness to this falsehood.
كرام والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون
Whether we should turn away from these type of things. And there are many texts that mention this.
وإنكار القلب على المنكر
And we should rebuke it at least in our heart.
لا يجوز أبدا الجلوس في هذا المكان إلا لحاجة لضرورة أو مصلحة.
So it's not allowed to stay in these places unless there's necessity or profound or benefit. But if it doesn't have any of these problems in the movie, then whoever say it's haram to produce these movies, they'll say it's haram to watch it. And this is how some fiqh councils mentioned. The same thing when it comes to the companions. As for me, watching the movies about prophets, I believe that, what as Sheikh Salah said, watching is allowed for a benefit, a preponderant benefit. He said some people watched the movie on Nuh, and they showed parts of the movie. There were Muslims and Christians and Jews there. And they said since this is a person that all three groups agree upon, they want to see the reaction of between different groups. All three groups, they said this movie does not portray Nuh correctly. And I was there. I went to that. For me, it was a good opportunity to see how this affects people. And I wasn't watching it to watch it, but I was there for the benefit, the preponderant benefit of learning to teach people what we believe about Nuh. And in some of the scenes in the movie, it was actually like accurate to what's in the Quran. And there were some things that were completely against how he's made, like in the biblical text he drinks alcohol, and I rebuke this, and this is haram, and how could a prophet do this? If there's a benefit in this type of event, then it would be allowed. Other than that, it should not be watched. And he ended his talk now.
خير جزاكم الله خير. شيخ ما نعرف هذه قل ما رأيكم في التكنولوجيا اللي يسمونها ديب فيك أن تأخذ بعض
So there's a question on deepfake videos.
مثلا أخذ صورة الشيخ وليد
Can I take a picture of Sheikh Walid
وأضعها على حديث أو خطبة
and put it on a khutbah or something
لأحد المشايخ
for other mashayikh, like making him seem like he's saying it?
هو صوته
It's his voice. It's the voice of the one speaking, but he puts the sheikh's picture as if he's speaking.
virtual reality
The second question is on virtual reality.
موجود.
الذي يظهر في الصورة الأولى أن فيه نوع من التدليس،
He says the first scenario is a form of tadlis, of lying and tricking people, and this shouldn't be done. As for virtual reality,
وهو أن يضع الإنسان
where
على عينيه
a person puts like goggles on his eyes
منظومة هذا الفيلم أو الصورة،
so that you can be as if you're inside the movie. This is a form of technology that's present. So it's okay, as long as it's not used for something haram. It's just regular videos, but it turns into it's real pictures, and it's just turned into like a 3D reality. Some of them were haram though. Some people made it where you enter into the masjid, the Prophet's masjid, and then you open up the grave of the Prophet and you go into the room of Aisha. Some people see the grave of the Prophet, and I saw things that they did in there that's not allowed. This leads to shirk. The companions forbade this. The Prophet forbade that his grave be taken as a masjid, or is anyone prostrate there or anything like that. So people shouldn't do this in 3D reality or in virtual reality. No one should do that in there either. So based on how you use it, use that technology, you'll determine the ruling. But imagine if you did virtual reality as if you were in Badr and see the Sahaba. You think that's, subhanAllah, in the future this will be present and available. This will be very strange. Or you can sit in the class of a sheikh that's from the past.
Next we have a question that was sent us Dr. Ahmed for the sisters. Sheikh, if you can read the question.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. لدي عدد من الأسئلة وسؤالين. هل يجوز للمرأة التحدث الدعوي أمام الرجال؟
First question is, can a woman speak in front of men in dawah? And second question, how can a woman enter into dawah without being exposed to fitna? And what are the rulings on how to do this? He says go back to the paper on women and dawah in one of the papers that was presented to Amja in the 10th conference. And in it, it will discuss all these things. In summary, I don't see a problem for a woman to in front of men as a da'iyah, as long as she follows the guidelines of Islam in this regard, in terms of looking and so on. And also in terms of what she's talking about as well. So if we follow the boundaries, it should be fine. And this occurred during the time of the Prophet where a woman would discuss with the Prophet in front of men, There's nothing that would prevent it.
ولكن بقي كما تفضلت الضوابط.
But we should follow the precautions on this.
أن تكون عفة النظر
How she dresses, etc. How she speaks, what she talks about. So.
وهكذا وهكذا تنقص الخبرة والعلم. الحمد لله سيدنا الدكتور موفق أضاف أنه أيضا يقدر الأمر بقدر ما يكون عندها من خبرة في مجال.
And we should also base this based on experience. Maybe she has more experience than a man in an area, so we'll go with her. And so we need her more in this area. So we should also look at need and experience. He's just translating the question into Arabic for everyone. So it's exactly what you just heard in English.
I think Allah Ta'ala, if we're going to consider that concern, we're going to keep her at home because nobody's going to see her in the mall and everywhere. I can get a picture for you right now. Do you feel like 3% or what kind of phone you have, man? I have it. I got you. And I can do whatever I want. This is based on the intention of the person who's doing that. We need to differentiate between the concept of letting our sisters giving the da'wah with the prayer with the manners and so and the other one somebody doing something wrong. This is exactly going to happen with me right now. Somebody going to take my picture and put in a different body even that. فالله تعالى أعلم الأمر ليس في الحكم على كونها تتكلم أم لا. We're talking about something different right now.
So just to be clear, the posting shows things. Obviously, you know the role that I had in my video as far as Dawah. I just want to say, is this a reason? Because I agree with you. There are some people said, well, and I see this in many Dawah. I don't know what to say. I'm just shocked by this kind of logic that some people use in the fatwas to say it's not allowed for a woman to or something like that. As if it is allowed for a man to have his pictures in a naked body. And if he's going to say haram for a woman because that possibility, well, men as well. I mean, if you're going to open this door, there's no. But I want to say there's very beautiful rules in Sharia. It says, عندنا قاعدة جميلة جدا في الشرع أن النادر لا حكم له. Anything that is قليل جدا لا يحصل إلا في النادر لا ينبني عليه الحكم. If there is something really not common, we don't build the rules on issues which is not common. Otherwise, we will not have business transactions. Most of many things beyond even these pictures and images will be happening. And there's another thing also. واحد يقول لي إذا وضعت صورتها تشعرها رجال. تقول إيش مشكلة؟ مشكلتها ولا مشكلته؟ إذا خرجت نظر إليها الناس هي التزمت بالشرع. خلاص هو عاد البعيد هذا مسؤول أو مشكلة. كيف هذا مشكلته؟ إيش مشكلته؟ ليش يتحمل مشكلة الآخرين؟ هذا عقلية الناس فقط تستوعبها إلى الآن. Some people said, oh, she cannot put her picture because what if somebody looked at her with his eye? That's not her problem, that's his problem. She had done what is correct. She wore hijab and she went to the masjid. Somebody in the masjid looked at her in the wrong way, that's not her problem, that's his problem. So also we need to be reasonable in our approach and the way we deal with these issues.
The next question is
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله حفظكم الله. السؤال كان ربما نفسه على موضوع استخدام الفوتوشوب في
The question is regarding using Photoshop for pictures.
ليس يعني من باب تحسين الصورة
Not to make pictures look better,
لمحتويات الصورة
but
ما يشيل مثلا مشابه
maybe we'll change backgrounds or make the face look better, make the skin look better. What is the ruling on this?
I don't see a problem with Photoshop in the images that it is taken, like filters and stuff like that to make it clear, add more light, add more background. I don't see any harm in that. I think it's all good. It's like exactly you taking care of yourself, like washing your face with combing your hair and stuff like that. But what's not allowed in the Photoshop is change completely the person in a way that you cannot deceive them. That's something else. Yes, الفوتوشوب التعديل للرسوم وكذا ببعض الفلاتر تكون على التليفون بضاعة أكثر تحسين. لكن أنا ما أعرف في حاجة. الشيخ يقول على النساء تفعل هذا وكذا. أنا لا أشك فيها. لكن هذا المنهج جيد الشيخ كان just sister has to be careful about this, not to purify herself more and stuff like that.
So you can take the next question on my right, inshallah.
السلام عليكم. Question for Sheikh Wahid. Jazakallah khairan for the very thorough analysis. My question is related to the point about Sahaba being represented in, video productions. And I do agree with you that obviously these types of productions increase the likeness of the personality by the audience. But it does introduce some subjectivity. Every director could have different ways of presenting that, figure, the Sahabi or whatever. What could we do to minimize that level of subjectivity? Do you see some way that, Muslim body can provide guidance so that something as simple as maybe the actor pricking their nose can leave an impression with the viewer that it's not, a proper representation of this figure, and then, obviously it can reflect on the deed itself. The way people perceive it.
وفضيلة الشيخ والمشايخ يسأل أخونا جزاه الله خير عن ما هو النصيحة في أصول الصحابة والأفلام المتعلقة بها، كيف نضمن أن المخرج لن يعطي بعد غير صحيح أو جيد عن الصحابي الذي سيخرج دوره الصحابي الذي يكون في الفيلم أو نحو ذلك؟ كيف نضمن الحفاظ على مقام الصحابة وتوصيلهم بشكل صحيح؟ بالنسبة لي أنا ذكرت من ضمن الأشياء أن توجد لجنة شرعية
تصوير نفسية المتصرف في موقف ما. يعني مثلا في حالات الخلاف التي حصلت بين بعض الصحابة رضوان الله تعالى عليهم، إذا كانت العبارات لغة البدن معبرة بشيء زائد قد تصور هذا الصحابي شريرا أمام الناس بس بلغة البدن، حتى وإن كانت الكلمات تقال نفس اللفظ فقد تصوره شريرا أكثر، يعني والعياذ بالله. القضية عندي أن هذا
The Sheikh is saying, for me, since the companion, we're talking about photographing companions and acting them. Since the companion is the one who carries the revelation to us, we have to make sure that there's no disrespect in presenting them. Like there's some conflicts, for example, that will make us like the conflict between some Sahaba like Ali and Muawiyah. How are we going to portray the anger? Then we're going to make it look like the Sahabi are angry people, and so there are some things that may be difficult. So we need to make sure that there's a committee of scholars and make sure that none of it looks disrespectful to the companions. Also, when I am looking at it, when I look at it, I may interpret it one way, someone else may interpret it another way. So we got to make sure make it as having no room for anyone to reinterpret it the wrong way. I can't hear what the question is saying. تسمع؟ أنا مش سامع بيقول إيه. أنا مش فاهم هو بيقول إيه. I can't hear the question. I'm asking to repeat it. Really? I think the brother is making a comment saying if you put a picture of a person on the walls, on posters, people are going to automatically just associate the image of that actor with the image of a prophet, and that could be problematic. So I think he's making a comment more than a question. He's saying, well, if I see an actor in another play and he already portrayed a Sahabi in another movie, if I see that actor again, will I automatically think of Hamza in that role or not? Or Abu Bakr in that role, or Omar in that role or not? Sheikh Walid Basyouni thinks that no, that's not the case. And he asked some specialists in this regard, and they said it's not true. But he said, I respect your opinion.